Well, it's only the second day of 2025 and already Meghan Markle is back in the headlines. The Duchess of Sussex has returned to Instagram for the first time since she deleted her account before marrying Prince Harry. Take a look. Nice stuff. Now, what's interesting is that her other half, the prince, well, he's nowhere to be seen. It's 111 days since Meghan and Harry have been seen out and about together. So this return to Instagram with a post that's all whinger and no ginger is bound to create plenty of chatter. Joining me now is Sky News host Caroline de Russo. Caroline, Happy New Year. Thanks for joining me. Meghan Markle's back on Instagram. How significant is her return to social media?
Happy New Year's, mate. Well, let's just see. I mean, it doesn't look like a whole lot at the moment. And if we go back to last March when she launched American Riviera Orchard and there was just an Instagram page with really not much on it, and that video, very low, soft light in that black dress, whimsically running through that stately house. And then we didn't see much after that except for a few jars of strawberry jam that got sent to a few celebrities. So I don't know what this means. Unfortunately, since Megxit, we've seen lots and bits and pieces from Harry and Meghan, some from Harry on his own, some from Meghan on her own, and some from them together, although we do understand that going into 2025 there will be a professional separation. But I don't actually know where this fits in because it doesn't feel like there has been a broader purpose and a broader strategy. So I think we all just have to wait and see.
Well, just before we move on to other subjects, it's the start of the year. Just give me your hot tip for Harry and Meghan. What twist will their lives take this year?
Oh, I'm not quite sure what twist it'll take this year. One thing that we do know is that Meghan's Netflix series, there's something to do with cooking. Who knows what that even looks like. That really needs to be successful because we understand that there is their last chance, so to speak, with Netflix. So it'll be interesting to see what that content is and whether they survive it. Other than that, I imagine there'll be a few more, royal tours to various far-flung parts of the earth, but I at this point I don't see a family reconciliation or anything like that on the cards. I think the jealousy from the other side of the pond will continue consistently throughout 2025.
Well, no doubt it'll keep us all greatly amused. And, of course, your royal report here on Sky News is always worth watching for all the royal news. Let's head to England, where thousands of people were left disappointed after gathering for a fireworks display in Birmingham. It had been advertised on social media, but the whole thing turned out to be a complete scam. In a statement, the West Midlands Police said, quote, "We're aware of a speculation of a New Year's Eve fireworks display taking place in Birmingham's Centenary Square, but we can confirm this is not the case. We don't want people travelling unnecessarily into the city only to be disappointed." And, of course, many people did and were. It reminds me, Caroline, of a similar event in Dublin last year where hundreds of people turned out for a Halloween parade that also ended up being a hoax. Is this a new sort of a hoax that you think we're going to see more and more of? And how do people make sure they don't fall for these kinds of scams?
Well, I think it's one of those things with the prevalence of social media and that these things, I imagine that we probably will see more of it. Although there's been hoax and scams since time immemorial. They've just got a different way of disseminating that information. I guess the only thing that I would say to people is make sure, call your local authorities. I mean, I find it actually really almost amusing, shocking, but kind of amusing, James, that with the way that local government is so far up everyone's backsides on every little thing that they do, that something like this gets so far without it being shut down. It's almost, like I said, it's almost amusing. People just need to check in, I suppose, and don't believe everything you see on the internet. There we go. There's a good piece of advice for 2025.
I tell you, that advice will pretty much save your life in every regard. Just don't believe what you read on the internet. Speaking of scams, yesterday, Victorian Premier Jacinta Allen, she posted on Twitter that British singer Robbie Williams would be performing a free event in Melbourne tonight. Robbie Williams, Fed Square, tomorrow 5 p.m. for free, she said. Now, it might be free for fans to attend, but taxpayers are going to have to cover some of the costs, aren't they? Is this what we call bread and circuses, Caroline?
It is absolutely what we call bread and circuses, and I tweeted as much yesterday evening, shortly after that post was made on X. Look, but you know, more suffering for the Victorian taxpayer, and ultimately these things do need to be paid for. They get paid for by stamp duty, they get paid for by land tax, they get paid for by a whole raft of other things. And if you had a budget in the shape of the Victorian budget, why on earth would you be doing something like this? You know, I can understand that you might, you know, want to help people with cost of living issues. And I understand, James, that you might go, well, we want people to be in the CBD. You want people in the CBD? Well, you know what? Public servants can go back to work in the CBD because businesses in the CBD, they don't need a sugar hit for one evening. They need trade all year round. But we saw that with the West Australian government's not particularly different. They gave everyone free tickets to the zoo. And I mean, when people are suffering in a cost of living crisis, they need real assistance. I'm just not quite sure why the Victorian Libs haven't said anything in relation to this. I know most people are on holidays, so I assume that's probably why. But these sorts of sugar hits, they do not fix an economy that's in the sort of trouble that the Victorian one is.
Now, it's an absolute distraction paid for by the Victorian taxpayer, the long-suffering Victorian taxpayer. Caroline de Russo, thanks for your time, and once again, Happy New Year.